Hello, welcome to the SC Playbook podcast, head of NRL Supercoach Round 6, proudly brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. I'm your host, Tim Williams. I'll tell you what, it is a great time of year. Not a heap happening this weekend, to be fair, unless you're a golfing Masters fan. But the weekend after, we've got the Easter long weekend, the Anzac long weekend, Magic Round. It is a great time of year. Here to talk through it with me, the Supercoach Spy. How are you, Spy?
Fellas, bloody good. A couple of decent weeks in a row, which was obviously pretty handy, much needed. So, yeah, managed to pump out a 1260 odd on the back of King Gutho, Saturday Arvo. And just a decent weekend all around, so got a bit of momentum, a bit of a war chest to play with as well. So, yeah, found myself into 16,000th after whatever I ended up after Garrick. I certainly didn't look that week. But yeah, going all right, boys.
After that Garrick injury and you were saying, I've got to throw everything at it and go hard and get aggressive, I'm like, Spy, just relax, mate. You calm down a little bit.
Did get aggressive and it's paying off.
Oh,
I'm staying aggressive. Don't you worry.
Mate, you're a big hit in the WhatsApp group on Saturday night. Put a chat of you punching a little late night whiskey and you had, more friends than the Wiggles.
I did, mate. Yeah, just wanted to get out to the boys and girls out there who were having a fellow drink with me. Someone actually messaged me like 11 a.m. the next morning, still going. I was like, well, you schooled me, mate. But he also said Des is the GOAT of the world. So I have to show you after this one. I had some good chats Saturday night, or whoever else was on the drink with me. I had some good times.
Hard to argue with that comment. And he is with us today, the 29 champion, Desi Creek. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Also scored about 1260, same as Spy. Ranked about the same as well, around that 15,000 mark. Had Gutho, didn't captain him. I went for my boy Reece Walsh, who I brought in, who I said I'd bring in as soon as Spy traded him out. It took me a couple of weeks, but I got him.
How nervous were you about 8 minutes after half time when he was on like 6?
He was on about 6 points at half time. Yeah, I was sweating it out, but that's the roller coaster of Supercoach. I've ranked pretty highly the last few years. I can take a bit of a swing this year and see how I go, just playing how I want to play this year.
You're all right,
Are you saying you don't play how you want to play normally? Please.
Well, I'm taking it maybe. Well, if I really wanted to do the plus EV play, like expected value play, it would be to captain Gutho. You would never captain Reece Walsh in your right mind if you played Supercoach seriously. But
Righto, mate.
I'd never owned him. I brought him in. It was it was just one of those ones.
I love when you start talking economics in like transitioning it and putting it into your Supercoach chat, Desi. Because what a lot don't know about you, Desi Creek, you're qualified, you did an economics degree.
I did. I don't know how much it helps, though, for Supercoach, honestly. You
won
it's a bit
Supercoach at the completion of your degree, right?
I did, yeah.
Might need to go back, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, a few years after. But no, I don't think I applied anything from the degree into Supercoach. I think it's still more of you watch the games, you see what happens, and then you base your decisions. You react. It's a reactionary game.
I do know if Reece Walsh scored 140, which you could have, you would have walked in and said, I tried to tell you, boys, the obvious play.
It was the EG theory. The example theory. Also with us today, as always, Matty the Waterboy. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Unfortunately, apologies for YouTube. We're camera down. We're a bit of trouble at the moment with camera charges, but that's all right. I actually decided I was going to captain Gutho Tuesday night last week when Spy said it. So thank you, Spy.
Yes, Matty.
The rest of my team was, I still got over 1,200, but it wasn't like the best week. Gutho well and truly saved my team. So Spy, I definitely owe you whiskey. And I actually owe you 2 whiskeys because, Humphreys did go off in the first minute, but Latrell did kick goals last week. So I'm in debt to you.
You are in debt. Magic Round's coming up, so we'll sort that out. And you're the first of many a chat I had during the King Gutho era on Saturday. You started at about 3:20 p.m. and ended with someone else about 12:30 a.m. So what up, mate?
What's your rank, Matty? You're going all right.
I'm in the 6,000s. Yeah, there we go. 6177 at the moment.
Very nice. Great start to the year.
Happy with the start.
For myself, I was also very keen on Clint Gutherson as captain. Unfortunately, I didn't own him, so I got Gutherino'd last week. 1,166 points. Team went well. My concern going into the week was I clearly didn't have the best skipper options, and I thought they were Nathan Cleary, who updated fantastically to 90-odd, and then Gutho in that game against the Eels as well there. 130-odd he finished on, so congrats to Gutho owns. But yeah, I dropped a tick to a little bit over 7K. So got a bit of a war chest going on to this week. But yeah, 2 red arrows in a row, so need to make a move this week after a couple of weeks of drops. Shout out to Rando. He went huge last week, 1350 or something massive. So he's barred from the show until he hits the skids again, which shouldn't be too long, I wouldn't reckon. Now, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel. Favourite the video, whatever it is you do on there. Same thing on Spotify, Apple. Helps the channel tremendously. So helps out on that one. But on today's show, TLT Supercoach Pointers, Thomas Cant, he retains his starting spot at the Knights. The big news there is he a must-have, currently the most traded in player in the game. We're going to looking at the hooking position. A few conundrums there. Going to look at what our short-term plan is in a troubling spot. We're also going to have that big chat today, boys. Cash versus points generation. When the focus changes from cash 2 points, because I think we're getting pretty close to it. Our hot topics for the show: which Storm stars do we cash in on? A gun run ahead for the Melbourne Storm, and they are just absolutely firing, so they're going to become hot property very quickly. We'll drop our round 6 trade and skipper plans. Then listener questions: is Nicho to Jerome Hughes a viable trade? We'll get to that later. Unlimited League winner, leading overall, the B Sharks, Corey, is first overall in Supercoach, absolutely humming at the moment. Currently we have, boys, 11 of the top 20 overall in Supercoach in our group, Spy.
Come on, the book.
Good going. Go the book. Nathan scored 1,457 to top the group for the week. The code there will shut off pretty soon. We're getting closer, but 434727, $1,000 up for grabs. The B Sharks, they're in prime position to take that out. Now, Magic Round coming up in, 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, whatever it might be. We will once again have an SC Playbook meetup at Magic Round. Details of that to be confirmed, but the contributors there from SC Playbook who are on deck will come for a beer. We'll have a yarn and carry on about all things Supercoach. As I said, details to come in the next week or two on that one, but likely to be Friday afternoon.
I'm really starting to feel it, boys. Magic Round, just like this week. I just started to get in. I've felt in the bones, and I might have 1 or 2 on the Friday. We'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah, please. Another event is also in the works, which I've been teasing out. That'll be announced in coming weeks. Also, and of course, the SC Playbook subscription for less than $2 a week. You can subscribe to our premium offering, get you access to a ton of extra content and offerings across the SC Playbook network. For more details and to subscribe, head to the menu at scplaybook.com.au and hit subscribe. Boys, team list Tuesday. Thomas Cant is the most traded in player. We normally go through the chronological order of the games, but here's the big one this week, right? And he was the big watch on the team list. The most traded in player at 274K. The watch was that with Kai Pearce-Paul returning from suspension, Tyson Frizzell having been playing on the edge, what was going to happen? Pearce-Paul is back. Cant retains that spot on the edge. Tyson Frizzell shifts back to lock. Negative 66 break even for Thomas Cant. He's had a base the last 2 weeks of 70 and 47, which is incredible as an 80-minute man. The big watch, though, Spy, and the concern, Dylan Lucas, who's due back from, I think it was a hamstring injury, in the next couple of weeks. It was meant to be 4 to 6 when it happened. We're pretty close to that 4-week mark. My suspicion is that when Lucas is back, Thomas Cant either goes straight to the bench or drops out of the 17. How do you feel about him as a buy this week?
Oh, firstly, he looks a gun. You speak about the eye test, Desi. He's all effort, all heart. I think the Knights, they need that. They're lacking attack as well, and I feel like he's going to help them out in that department. Maybe he's that kind of bloke they need to find a spot for. As you said, the concern is that he does drop out or go to the bench with a hell of a low break even and someone you can very happily plug into your side and play this week. Serious consideration. We'll get to trades later, but I do have a conundrum around that, which I might need your help with.
Alrighty. The one concern, Desi, I already mentioned it, it's Dylan Lucas, but you're right, Spy, he looks the goods. Even if he retains a bench spot, it's just if he drops to a 30-minute bench roll from next week. That being said, that's worst case, really. He's still making some decent cash. What do you think?
Yeah, the negative 66 break even is just a selling point for me. If he gets 60 points this week, he's going to go up 100K pretty easily. So I'd say that it almost makes it worth the trade. And like you said, if he gets the bench spot or something like that for a second or third week, he's going to make an easy, maybe a 50, 60K more on top of that. He could be 430K in no time in just a couple of weeks. So when Lucas comes back, the plan would be just to go Cant straight back to Lucas.
Yeah.
That's my plan if I do get him, which it looks like I'm quite a fan of him. Like Spice said, he passed the eye test, so I can't see why not.
Especially if we get Cant sort of peaking as Dylan Lucas. Well, Dylan Lucas won't really bottom out too much because he was scoring so well prior to that injury, but one to keep an eye on. But yes, I'm with you boys. Looks pretty hard to pass up this week despite a little bit of a risk. Tommy Gilbert returns on the edge from suspension at the Dolphins. Max Plath at lock, which I think is a good thing for Max Plath owners there. More work in the middle. Dylan Edwards returns early from injury for the Penrith Panthers. Blaze Talangi at 5'8". Jack Cole and Mitch Kenny are out. At the Gold Coast Titans, Jojo Fafita is back on the wing. That sends Bowie Fermor back to the second row. Dave Fafita shifts back to the bench. Tino Fasua Malawi, he is suspended for 1 week. At the Broncos, Adam Reynolds named despite leaving the field early last weekend. Desi, you were pretty excited last week when, as a new Reece Walsh owner, when Reynolds went off and your boy Reece Walsh overtook the goal kicking. Does this...
I thought I'd hit the jackpot.
You did.
I really did. I said like in my article last week that timing of these sort of trades is, it's half of Supercoach, if not more. It's the art of the game. So I thought maybe I'd timed it pretty well, but if he's back, it's not looking likely that Reece is gonna hold down the kicking. But yeah, that's just the name of the game.
Yeah, that's it. And it's, there's... Reynolds could potentially give up the kicking for a week or two. We've seen people in the past with hamstring issues and kickers give it up to other kickers for the time being, but with his history of hamstrings, Adam Reynolds injuries, you'd think maybe if he's playing.
If he's playing his goal kicking,
I tell you what,
they wouldn't risk it.
The fact he did do that little tweak goal kicking, maybe he does just go, Reece, just take it for a week. I just want to make sure I'm sweet, because he actually did it, striking the ball from in front. So it gives hope for Reece Walsh owners like Desi over there.
At the Roosters, Hugo Savala replaces Chad Townsend, who's been dropped in the halves. A bit of a watch there. Lindsay Collins is out for, I think it was 6 weeks I saw on that one. Good news for any forwards that you own at the Roosters. And there's a few on the radar this week as well for people there. Dom Young has been named on the wing, but there were earlier reports during the week that he was going to be dropped with Mark Nwanganita-Wazi. He was out last week to come in and play on the wing. So a big watch on that final team and the news throughout the week. But based on the reports, I think potentially that does happen. At the South Sydney Rabbitohs, Matty, I'll throw to you for this one, but Latrell Mitchell at 5'8", Jaden Sullivan at half 8, Ewan Aitken returns from injury at centre, a huge boost for the Bunnies, very timely, and Alex Johnson on the wing. Cody Walker's out, Humphries is out, Ravalawa, they're all out with hammy injuries for slightly extended periods. Latrell at 5'8", though, how do you feel?
Well, I'd feel differently if Ewan Aitken wasn't there. Ewan Aitken is the biggest in for me this week. He just shores everything up. Like if he wasn't in there, I'd definitely have Latrell at centre still because Campbell Graham's out. But yeah, I feel so safe. I feel so safe there with Ewan Aitken. So yeah, throw Latrell there. Why not? Cody Walker's out for a couple of weeks. Eventually he'll be back at centre or fullback. So but I'm happy for it to be this week.
Yeah, can't wait to watch it and see it unfold. Cody Walker, boys, through that origin period, he's going to be like sub 350k, which is just dirt cheap. So just one to monitor on return. Spy doesn't look convinced over there, mate.
Just that hammy, mate. Old age worrying me. Not a knock on Cody, but jeez.
Have you ever done your hammy?
I don't run fast enough. I just put people away.
I played it. Not a lot of footy with you, actually. You're a bit older than me, Spy. We played a lot of Oztag together over the years, and I've never seen a bloke go through a gap and just pull up and look for support quicker than you.
And we normally score because I know where to look.
It's smart footy. I'm not knocking you at all, mate.
Jason Smith-like.
You know your limitations. At the Cowboys, Ruben Cotter is back from, I believe, it was an illness layoff last week. Zach Lomax named on the wing and expected to stay on the wing. This is huge for his Supercoach credentials. I like him a million times more on the wing than at centre, as we saw at the Dragons last year. A bit more on him later. Riley Smith has been named to start at hooker for the Eels once again, but do note last week the same thing happened. What ended up happening for kickoff, Smith went to the bench. Geimer was then named at number 9, but it was actually Hopgood who played 9 and Geimer played in the forwards. Jace Riles, mate, just make it obvious for us, please. At the Storm, Ryan Pappenhausen named at fullback. He left the field early last week. He got out in social medias, the great man that Lil Pappy is. Settle's just a cork, so Spy, I would imagine, while there's always a bit of an injury concern with Paps, if it was just a cork, shouldn't be too much to
Cook's
worry
no
about.
issue. I would love to hear from the great man himself just a bit of clarification and certainty with his goal kicking. But, I mean, you can only assume for Cook.
He's the kind of
They're up
bloke.
by 40.
He's the kind of bloke that you tweet and. Please don't tweet him. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I remember last year he was inundated with messages, and he just said, "Guys, like bugger off." Basically.
He'll give us a shout on the
He'll
potty.
let us know.
He does his potty with
he
the
does,
boys. So.
Yeah, that podcast actually fantastic for super coaches and footy fans because a great listen for starters, but secondly, just get some good info out of it, don't we?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Good news for Ryan Pappenhausen, though. At the night, Elliott out, Cogger out, Hetherington out, Sofidi out, Schiller out, Mass out. At the Tigers, Luai in, Skelton in, Finu in. Yesterday, the Knights were favourite for this game. The Tigers, they were outsiders. So that's a big one for the Newey Knights and the Tigers game there. And then I'm looking to potentially captain Kalen Ponga because that swung a fair bit in my eyes. Now, boys, let's get to the first topic of the show. Points versus cash generation. Now, what I mean by this is early on in the season, it's all about getting these players. We get a free look at them early on without price changes and maximising your squad value. Getting these cheapies, getting these mid-rangers who are set to make good cash. You get rid of players with high break-evens who are set to lose bulk cash. Early on in the season, the cash generation's been very good. What this does, there becomes a point where you have to sit there and go, okay, I don't need to get the bloke with a minus 50 break-even. I want to get the gun who's bottomed out in value. And while he might not make that much more money, the points are going to be there. The focus goes from cash generation to points. Before I ask where you're at with that, boys, I want to ask you a question, and that is that I know, the cash generation has been good thus far, but can you really have too much cash coming in and, just maximising that higher squad value and getting it through the roof? I know, Desi, you make that early shift and you'll say that, we've had heaps of cash already and you go into points, but why is there a point and why is there a limit that you need to stop? Can you just keep going and making cash for another 5, 6, 7 weeks? How do you see it?
Well, you can, yeah. It's still important in the early doors. As for why is there a limit, it's an interesting question. I did say it like a few weeks ago on the podcast that if we all had unlimited salary, what the hell would happen? We have no idea. It would make for a different game, that's for sure. Either we'd all start with the same 25 gun players. That's my expectation. We'd all go, all right, let's just all get the most expensive players who've been the best Supercoach players for the last 5 years and chuck them in. That's the main reason why there's a limit, but it would still be interesting to see.
Sorry, I should rephrase, why do people put a limit on, saying, all right, now we go to points? Why can't you just, with looking at your team, why can't you keep just going higher and higher with your cash gen to be able to afford whoever you want a bit later in the season?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the exact same principle, essentially. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd just add to that every extra week you go building that cash is an extra week you go without upgrading to a gun. And that's where points when you Supercoach, right? So it's all good and well saying, I'm building this bulk cash squad for the back end of the year, but by then it might be too late and you might be too far back and you might set yourself up to fly home and finish strongly. But, I mean, we're here to win it, aren't we? We want to have a crack. So I think for me it's sure, you could get yourself 24 or 25 elite guns over a long period, but 10 weeks earlier you could have decided, how about I just get 20 guns or whatever it may be, 4 less, which means you can get a bit of a point of difference strategy in. If you know you've got the cash coming in, right, and you know you're pretty sweet, sell a couple of your blokes early. Go to a gun early to get those points. That's what I'm going to look at doing now. I'm in a good position that way. So,
and I'm with you, Spy. It's not to say that I'm going to go down that approach. I know some good super coaches who are just going, I'm going to max out cash generation and get my squad value worth a shit ton. But I do think there is a time where you have to go, no, I need points to win this game. That is what wins Supercoach, not who has the biggest squad value. I can see where they're coming from. And that being said, there's no right or wrong answer or right or wrong approach to doing this. But I'll start with you, Desi, as someone who traditionally goes quite hard, quite early, and is happy with, when we see early cash generation. I think this year has been one of the better years for cash gen early on, and it doesn't look like stopping anytime soon. When are you looking to make that move and that change where you just go, you know what, I don't need a Thomas Cant at a neg 66 break even. I'm just going to go all out guns. How do you feel?
Yeah, I've pretty much already made the shift already. As for Cant, it's more of I'm buying him so that I can facilitate other trades because he's cheap. Not because I really need the cash generation from him. It's always good to have. You're not going to say no to it.
And I suppose the other one there is, I've used the example of a cheapie, but the best thing about cheapies with the low Bs, all right, you'll make the cash, but as you're saying, you free up cash to facilitate the other trades. I think a good example is, they might be players like Rob Toyer with a low break even. They haven't quite maxed in value, or potentially even like a Jesse Arthurs type where there's a bit more money to make, but you can go early and go, you know what, I'll forego the extra 30 or 40 or 50K they'll make to get a gun in.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm actually bringing in Harry Grant this week. Surprise, surprise. Even though he's not, he's probably not going to go up or down that much cash. It's more of just I want him in my team. I think he's going to be the top scoring hooker. I don't care if I'm going to lose a bit of money on him. That's all. I just don't care about losing money on players that I'm going to hold. That's the mentality you really have to shift towards right now.
Spy, how do you feel about it, mate? What's your plan?
Yeah, I've shifted as well, but I don't mean an entirely shift towards only getting points. I'm not going to pass up a genuine cheapie who's going to score me points as well. So Thomas Cant, for example, he's going to make a heap of cash, hopefully. But even if he only plays for a week, worst case scenario, I'd be happy to come in and score me 70 odd, if not more. So you're plugging someone in to make cash and get your points. So you're not actually foregoing points, which is the beauty of it. And in the best case scenario, he'll turn into someone who's worth like 500 plus or whatever it may be.
And I mean, Tom Jenkins is another good example there. Like, I know Tom Jenkins is an extreme example because he was such a no-brainer. But Tom Jenkins in a good team with good base, you free up money by bringing him in. He's about to make gun money, but more to my point, he's in a good position in a good team and he'll score points for your team. So I was like, you're not bringing in a cash generator who you don't want to play in your 17 because it's risky. You're like, you can play these blokes.
Comfortably play him, turn him into what I'd deem like a semi-keeper. You might be able to keep him right through Origin and score really well, then sell or hold later. Obviously, downgrades still need to happen as well, which is, you mentioned, in terms of facilitating trades. Rather than waiting a week or two and just downgrading to someone who you'll never play, grab Thomas Cant with one of your downgrades now, if you can. Also think the quicker you can make coin, Thomas Cant, again, Jenkins, if you go bang, bang, if they make that cash upgrade in 2 weeks, then you can get to your better players quicker. He's not just dwindling along at 20K a week where you're just waiting and waiting like Robert Toyer at the moment. Hopefully a big score coming, but that's not ideal. So points, cash, whilst my focus is around that point generation and guns, you don't have to say no to someone who's going to score well and get cash as well.
Yeah. Probably, shock, no surprise here, but slightly more conservative than you boys. Desi, you're basically all in on points. Spy, you're 3/4 of the way to going to the points focus. Yep. I'd say I'm halfway there, where I'm still happy to get some good cash generators and boost my squad value just that little bit more going forward. I still think it's very early on in the season. There's still some great cash to be made and capitalise on. So about half and half there for me, but honestly, with the money that's coming in 1 to 2 weeks away from just full out going to point and doing that. Now, boys, topic number 2 for the show, the hooking position. It hasn't been a bludger. It's actually been quite interesting early on because a lot of the cheapie guys and even a few of the mid-ranges, they've gone quite well. They've made cash, but we're seeing guys like Tom Starling, Peter Mamazelos, Sandon Smith not far off, but starting to peak in price, and they are ones that, have concerns around their scoring long-term, and you probably look to move them on. In any other given year, you'd just go, sweet, get Harry Grant, whether he's bottoming out or you're paying top dollar for him, whatever it is, just move them to Harry Grant, set and forget for the season. But Harry Grant's averaging 53 points for the year. Now it's 604K. Des, you mentioned you were keen on him, but basically the hooker slot's been thrown pretty well wide open for a lot of people out there. And if I run through the top 5 averaging hookers for the season, it'll sort of emphasise that. Wade Egan's number 1. He's averaging 74.8 points per game. Max Plath, who's dual 2RF hooker, he's at 66.8. Tommy Starling still in third at 62.8, but his minutes have dropped off in recent weeks. Sam Verrills at the Titans at 62.3, and then Connor Watson at 60.8. That was with an injury-impacted game as well. What are your plans with your squad at the moment? Desi, do you have any of those cheapies peaking? And Harry Grant, you said you're keen on him. Talk to us.
Yeah, I've got Corey Peaks and Sandon Smith there right now. So they're both, I think, about the same price. I think they're pretty similar break-evens as well. So I just think Sandon Smith probably has a bit more upside to continue milking. He's got 100 in him somewhere, I think. So when the Roosters really do start putting it together, they've been close in recent weeks. If they start putting it together, I think I'm probably better off holding him. So I'm probably going to go Pax up to Harry. That's the trade I have in mind. They have New Zealand this week, which I think is quite a good matchup for Harry. I think he's scored pretty well against them in the past. So, yeah, I just think he's still the best hooker. He took a few more runs last week. I liked what I saw out of Dummy Half.
A couple of offloads as well.
A couple of offloads, a couple of runs. He was only maybe making 2 or 3 runs a game over the opening rounds, and then it was like probably 8 or 9 runs against Manly last week. He just
same as Garrick.
He just hasn't had the luck. Yeah, he just hasn't had the luck yet where he's burrowed over the line a couple of times. He hasn't needed to. You're gonna always get it from Harry though. A couple of times a year, he's always gonna burrow in for a double, at least 2-3 times a year. So those high scores are coming. They're not just gonna disappear completely. It's not a different player. It's just they're using him a bit differently. And I think right now, over this period coming into Origin, is normally the time he steps it up a bit and makes everyone take notice again. I think that's why I'm bringing him in.
Averaging 53 for the season with a break-even of 63 at 604k. The last 4 years he's averaged 71, 73, 78 and 74. Spy, firstly, your thoughts on Harry Grant and you know who the number one in the position is, be or the number one target, and then just what your circumstance looks like and what your plan is.
Yeah, if I look right now, I've got Tommy Starling and Sandon Smith. Starlow for me has been outstanding, but the minutes are well down. They're clearly giving Paddy an opportunity there. So personally, I'm going to wait a week just to... It's almost like, I've spoken about it a couple of times here, it's like a shootout from the hookers. Give me your best, boys, and I'll pick one out next week. Because it's wide open, which makes me think if it's wide open and there's no standout, then it nearly has to be Harry, because you expect him to get back to somewhere near his best. I'm tempering expectations on him just a little bit at the moment because they're just using their edges so well, Melbourne, and they're obliterating sides. Even just shift to Jerome Hughes and Munster, they're carving it up. So Harry hasn't needed to take control through that middle as much, and maybe he won't have to. They're playing with a lot of width, Melbourne. Pappy back in the chiming in as well. So maybe temper things a bit, but I still think Harry's just safe. Even if he's not going to kill it for you, he'll still do well. But I mean, Wade Egan, Maxi Plath in the middle now. He's tempting, just a workhorse. Connor Watson, he came off for a little spell last week, but if he got back to 80, he'd be very close to number one. So he's a close watch. Outside of that, I mean, Jeremy Marshall-King's a good player, but he's only going okay. So I think when you look at that, Harry's the standout, but Egan, Plath and Watson are probably the 3 I've got an eye on if they want to put their hand up for a spot in the squad.
Yeah, I mean, I think Harry Grant's number one. I really do. And I think just the fact that, you know, we're getting him pretty soon, whether it's this week or next, at a bottomed out price at that 604k mark. He's dropped 86k so far this season. I'm with Desi. I hate to say that, gives me shivers down the spine, but
it's a good thing.
Yeah, is it though? I don't know. Just with this Melbourne attacking outfit, like you're right, Spy. They're playing with width. They're shifting the ball very early, the Storm, with success, but off the back of it, they're going to get quick play of the balls. Harry will be there. He'll dive over. He's had so far this season 1 try and 1 assist in 4 games, which is fine. I think it's a little bit unders for him, but maybe not that far off the mark. But when you consider how many points Melbourne have scored this season, I think you could call it unders. I just think he's the number one, and I have a plan to get him in place in coming weeks. Currently have Starling and Riley Smith at hooker and Sandon Smith at halfback. I'm looking at Nathan Cleary into my team this week, so you know it'll likely to be Starling moving on, and it'll just be a plan to go Sandon or Riley to Harry Grant, whether that's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I want him in my team as well. All right, moving on to our next topic, and that is Spy Talk, things you may have missed. What do you got for us this week, Spy?
All right, I'll get into it, boys. Firstly, a little shout out to my young fella, Charlie. Debuted for the Mighty Ferrets on the weekend, under 6s. 4 meat pies on debut.
Wow,
I was bloody proud. I was coaching him, so you got to help him with the play the balls and make sure they're running in the right direction. It's pretty bloody funny. But he got through on his first run, like he's going to score, and I was like chasing him down. I'm pretty sure when he scored, I was like, go on. Oh man, well done, mate. Well done. High fives. High fives.
There was a little Joey Johns grand final 97 blindside dart as well at one point.
Didn't think about that. He went short side. So in this instance, one of the boys had gone off to watch a butterfly, which does happen in under 6s. And I was trying to get him to play the ball, and I ended up just going, I'll just do it myself. You want to keep the game fun for the kids. They're all wanting a run.
Spy with a try assist.
Thank you very much.
Try assist in under 6s.
So I played the ball Then picked it up and gave it to him and said, off you go, mate. And I sort of said as he got it, I'm like, oi, go open side. Like, look at all the space because let's just say under 6 defences compress a fair bit. There's a bit of space on the edges. And he went, nah, and went straight down a narrow short side, tippy-toed Jared Haynes style origin and went straight through and scored. I'm like, oh, that was awesome. But yeah, exciting stuff. And yeah, it's actually super cool just to be coaching under 6s. It's great fun. Great fun.
Questionable character to compare your 6-year-old to Spy there. But and the Spy also...
Who are you comparing to?
Jared Haynes.
Yeah, well. I mean, tiptoeing down the sideline only. 09 form.
Tiptoeing like Isaiah Tass. And the Spy also, I heard, put in a formal complaint to the Forestville Rugby League committee because the statistician didn't award you a try assist for your work from dummy half for the try. They gave you contribution.
I'm the statistician, so it didn't matter.
So you got
line break, try assist for sure. Anyway, back to the big dogs in the NRL, and I wanted to mention 4 names who are going to come alive probably this time next week. So if you're looking at downgrades or you're looking at trades, bear these fellas in mind. But we've got Hiroti, I think it is, for the Sharks. He's in for Kale Iro.
That man was busting tackles.
He's a bit of a gun.
He was busting him.
So if he keeps that up, again, he's in the sort of the Thomas Cant, Thomas Jenkins era of like points and cash next week. And we've got a lot of centres ready for the downgrade, so keep an eye on him. Obviously, Hugo Savala. I haven't watched him play yet, but big raps. I've seen his New South Wales Cup stats and I've seen his highlights. Good ball runner. Also goal kicked over Sandon Smith in Reggie's last year. So keep that in mind if you want Sandon on your bench this week. I don't know if he's going to do it in first grade, but just one to monitor. But he's going to be in the mix there as a 2RF and a halfback. Billy Smith, your boy, do you still have him or you ended up trading him out?
No, I never had him.
Yeah.
I had him pre-season then when the injury happened.
But he'll be game 3 if he can get through, so he could be offer a downgrade. And the other one I want to keep a close eye on is Blaze Tulungi outside Nathan Cleary. That first game he played for them, they had him running fullback type sweep lines, which excites me because his ball running is out of this world, Blaze Tulungi. So sure as hell don't go now because you just don't need to. I don't see why you need to. Make sure he holds his spot. But just one to monitor in the coming weeks, Blaze Tulungi. A couple other things before we get back to it.
Just quickly, an important one, a good point you make, that's Spylight for people. You know, you don't have to plan a long, long way ahead, but if you can plan 1 week in advance, as you said, looking at these sorts of buys and how that'll impact and what you need to do in a week's time, like, very, very helpful. Because like Billy Smith next week, if he scores well this week, I think he's, 314K or something, he'll be a tremendous buy next week.
You just know you've got solid options coming in next week, so you don't have to jump on cheapies this week if you don't want to. Boys, the Bulldogs, stating the absolute obvious here, but could be the new Supercoach killers. Their defence is unbelievable. So obviously if you've got a side playing the Bulldogs, I'd be very reluctant to play anyone in Supercoach, maybe middle forward of course, but they're relentless. What a football side. Excited to see how they go.
Aren't they just Supercoach killers all round? Because in my stat deep dive on Beers and Breakevens last week, I brought up the Doggies and still undefeated after the weekend. No Supercoach relevant really. Like, granted, you know, Burton's injured, Kickout's injured, who are probably 2 of their main ones, but there's like no one in there you go, I want to buy this bloke or this bloke. They still
share it, don't they?
Yeah, so Supercoach-wise, pretty unenjoyable games at the moment.
And they don't sit there going, we'll win 30-2. Nah. It's like, if we win 12-0, that'll do.
Yeah.
Which brings me, speaking of a Bulldog, brings me to my top 5 of my boys. I said I was going to bring it out.
Here we go.
I'd call this not a draft, but I want a little bit of time to finalise this, but I've got my top 4 at the moment in order. I'll go backwards down, actually. Okay. Number 4, Kalen Ponga. We've been a fan since the get-go. How can you not like him? Number 3, Scotty Drinkwater. Love that man. Number 2, Jacob Kiraz. From the Doggies. So speaking of Supercoach relevance, he offloaded once and he was nearly in my side for next week. But 5 offloads last weekend, boys. Looked healthy. So big eye on him next week. Can't wait to get him back. And number 1, shouldn't be too hard to say, but Ryan Pappenhausen, little Pappy. Love that man. So my 5th spot remains wide open. I'm just going to leave it till I'm settled, but nominees include Sam Walker, Fletcher Sharp, James Tedesco, Jacob Preston and Harry Grant. There'll be a couple more to add in there, but they're all vying for 5th spot.
Hotly contested, guys. It's going to take a week. Wait for it, but it'll be worth the wait to get number 5 on Spy's list, and that's another edition of stuff you may have missed with Spy Talk. Good stuff.
Cheers.
Guys, for anyone who books an appointment with Mortgage Choice SCW up until the 23rd of May, you're going to a draw to win a $25,000 Luxury Escapes voucher. So if you've been on your fence thinking about setting your numbers up for the year, there's no better time than now to get it done, as it could land you a $25,000 holiday. If you're off to Magic Round, you probably want to set your numbers up for that, because that one can be an expensive one if you get a little bit excited. So what better time to do it? Or if you're looking to get into the housing market for the first time but you don't know where to start with that one, like most first home buyers, reach out to Paddy and the team to learn more about turning your dream into a reality. Normally that'd cost you $129, but if you mention SC Playbook when you reach out, it's completely free of charge. To do so, flick them a message on Instagram at mortgagechoice_SCW, or you can give them a buzz on 02 9521 1611. Doesn't matter where in Australia you're based for that one. Hot topics, boys. Most traded in and out players. Number 3 most traded in, Dylan Egan at the Dragons, playing big minutes down there, 198k. He's 2RF only, negative 38 break even. Big base on him, Desi. Good minutes. Emre Gula's out for another 2 weeks with suspension. Even when Gula was there, he played good minutes. Looks like a pretty good buy.
Yeah, if you want a longer term cash burn than Thomas Cant, I think he's your man. If I wanted to turn that 198k into 400k, but slowly, I think Egan potentially can do it. I must confess that I haven't really kept a close eye on him. My eye hasn't been on him when I'm watching the Dragons play, because I was too busy death riding the captaincy on Clint Gutherson last week.
You owned Gutho?
I did own Gutho.
Yeah, I was watching it, not even owning him.
I was mega hot on Gutho as well all year. Brought him in with Tuipulotu the other week against Melbourne. That's how hot I was on them. But yeah, I can't say that whether he's going to continue averaging 50 or not. I just haven't had my eyes on him.
Spot?
He runs bloody hard, I'll give you the tip. He lands in that category of someone, as Desi said, he'll do a job, pending him not getting dropped or something like that. I mean, he's on the bench, so it's possible. He should get you up to like that 400 mark, which would be good. But I guess the question is, do we need it? Are you going to use a boost on it? I'm in the situation where I could go Royce Hunt to him this week for a boost, but I'm not going to do that. I'd rather save my boost for quality upgrades. So he's a no from me, but if you need him to do a job and he fits your team, sure. Let him crack. He has a go.
If I was in that situation, like there's one with Dylan Egan where my third trade, I'm looking at boosting this week and getting the third trade needs to make me $66,000 to facilitate what I want to do. If I needed to get like an extra 20k to do it, or 15 or whatever it was, I would love to go Royce Hunt to him, because I'm like, get rid of Deadwood in my team, which you boys know that I hate in my team. I want active players in my squad doing something, whether I'm playing them or not. But Royce Hunt is worth so little that it's not doing that for me. So he's a good buy, but I'm with you. I think, boys, at this time, I just want that quick cash. I don't want the slow burn. He's a good buy. I think with Thomas Cant there available, I think he's the better play, albeit he's about 70 odd K more expensive. Here's a big one for you. And
can I say one more thing, actually?
Sure.
Just thought of this. If you're a new player and you've just missed out on a lot of this cash generation, because you obviously haven't played the game before, that's when he could come in handy. You look at your side and go, I've got no cash coming in. Then you could do it. But for people who've been around the traps a bit longer, you're probably less likely to need him, if that makes sense.
On the Melbourne Storm players, the fourth most traded in player, Cameron Munster, 645k. He's got a 78 point per game average and a 49 break even. We're going to cover off 4-3 Storm players in one hit here. They've got the Warriors at home incoming. Then they go the Dolphins away at Suncorp. They've got the Rabbitohs at home. They then have the Raiders at Suncorp at Magic Round. Then they have the Tigers at home. It's an incredible draw coming up. Their attack is relentless. Basically, it's who do we buy? Number 5 is Eli Katoa. He's 750k, 84 point per game average with a 59 break even. Jerome Hughes returned from injury last weekend. He's number 6, 778k with a 72 point per game average and 96 break even. And we can throw Pappenhausen in there as well, boys. I'll start with you, Desi Creek. My first question before we go, who? Can you have too many of these Storm players in your team, or could you potentially have, 3 of the spine or something like that?
Look, I think if you had Grant, Munster, Katoa, Hughes, and Pappenhausen, then you'd probably say you have 1 or 2 too many. You can't have probably 5 of them. That's too many cooks. Because we saw last week they scored 48 points against Manly, and basically none of them turned up. Not a single one of them turned up. They all scored pretty well though. Harry got about 50, so that was a bit unders for him. But the rest, I guess they still. I mean, I'm probably going against my own point here, but they all still scored 70.
They did put 48 points.
Yeah, they're not going to do that every week. I think I'd just stick to the 3 of them, and I think Eli Katoa is one that I'm absolutely set and forget on. I'm locked on him. He's not going to play Origin, unlike Munster, and he's just going to keep scoring tries. They kick to him so often. They go aerial to him just as much as like they do to Xavier Coates, and Hughes just hits him on that short ball. He's just going to, like Olakau'atu, he will get so many line break tries this year. At least 10 tries I see him scoring. So for him, he's just number 1 on the list.
Yep.
As for Hughes, probably due a down season compared to how he scored last year. I think last year was probably pretty exceptional for him. So I probably see Munster being a slightly better buy than him. I still see Cleary and Nicho as being the top 2 halfbacks. So Katoa and Munster for me are locked in. Harry, probably the 3rd guy, but interchangeable with Pappenhausen. Yep. I think they'll still all score well.
It's tough, mate, because you could make a very easy argument for every single one of them. But I would argue you could have all of them, but, you know, especially for Pappenhausen owners there as well, you probably don't want any more than 3 in the spine. Spy, how do you feel? Like, how many's too many, if any, and who are the priorities in this Storm outfit?
I'll disagree with you both, boys. I reckon the load up. If you'd have 5, I'd happily do it. You go into every weekend knowing they're going to score points.
Yeah.
2 of them are probably going to go off. They might take it in turns, but the person who doesn't go off still scores okay most weeks. For me, I'd be happy to have all of them. Jerome Hughes, I'd have to disagree, Desi. I reckon he's just going to go from strength to strength this year, similar to last year's output. But for someone like myself who already has Cleary and Hughes, I don't have a need to go to him. I'm still backing in Cleary and
Hines.
Nicho.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think you can get as many as you can. They honestly, how many points do you reckon they could put on the side this year? Because I reckon it's in the 70s, and if things went really their way, I reckon they could put 80 on someone.
Yeah,
which hasn't happened
back
in a long
end of the year,
time.
if they're full strength firing and they get, you know, a team bottom of the table who's injury depleted, dry day game, like they'll absolutely obliterate some teams.
They were 46-0 round 1 at home.
Yeah.
And that was about 42 minutes in. So I just think get a piece of them. You don't necessarily need to grab them, but if I've got them, I'm not arguing. In order of who I'd probably want, I do agree. Eli Katoa, he's just the guy you can just rely on week in, week out, but he probably has the capped upside of someone like a Pappenhausen who could go mental if things go his way. So I haven't actually sat here and ordered them around, but I like them all.
It's hard.
Harry would be last for me, but he's in a tougher spot. So then the value for him
Correct.
goes up.
And like that's the thing. Like I'm with you, Spy. Jerome Hughes, you know, he looks outstanding. He came out from injury. He blitzed it. But I currently have, or I'm about to have Cleary and Hines. I'm like, do I need Jerome Hughes there? I'm happy with those 2. And it's not a position I'm looking to make a move on once those 2 are set in, unless Nicho really falls off a cliff. Potentially around Origin period, depends what they do with Cleary and draws and all that sort of stuff. But, I mean, I'm an Eli Katoa owner. I think he's a must-have. There are a few options at 5'8". Like, I've got Dill Brown and Jaden Campbell. I wish I had Cam Munster over probably Dill Brown. That being said, you know, not scoring, I mean, he scored a bit worse than him, but came good on the weekend with a softer game. Because I'm prioritising some other Storm players, I want Harry Grant at some stage. I think Ryan Pappenhausen is the one because he's now goal kicking in this team with a soft draw. He's the one that I think could just absolutely explode. But then you get to the argument of, all right, it's fullback when there's Gutherson and there's Ponga and, you know, I was about to say Turbo, but I'm like, I just don't know. We don't need to mention Turbo for another month or so. But so many great fullbacks that you can consider. So
31 and sunny, Amy Park on Sunday.
I want Pappenhausen. Pappenhausen's one I think that if you can set aside the little injury niggles he's had in recent weeks, he could just explode in some of these games with that goal kicking to boot. So, but can't argue against any of them. That's just how we're going. Boys, Clint Gutherson, number 7 most traded in at 828k, 109 point per game average, 78 break even. You are both owners. I'm a little jealous of that. That being said, he's going to keep you from potentially like a Pappenhausen or someone, pending how you're playing it. But also quite a soft drawing coming for the Dragons, not Eels. Is Gutho a must-have, Desi, is my question.
It looks damn close to it.
Yeah.
It looks damn... you would be laughed at for saying Clint Gutherson is a Supercoach must-have over the previous couple of years. But he was like the top total points scoring fullback in some of them. So if you have that eye on him, just holding him through the whole period, Origin doesn't affect him, you're just going to get a lot of total points off him. You don't necessarily have to captain him or anything like that. It's not flashy, he's not fancy, but he's going to get the points for you. And I think I wouldn't call him a must-have just because there's other very good fullbacks, but he's very much closing in on it. He probably was 2 weeks ago when he was still 690k or 700k, but 828k is...
Yeah.
You really are paying exactly what you're going to get from...
Yeah, and that's it, mate. I think you've nailed it on the head. And you look at his role in this Dragons outfit. When he was at Parramatta, granted there's a few games missed, but with Moses there, with Dill Brown there are these attacking strike weapons, and Gutho was vital in that spine, but it wasn't all about him. At the Dragons with Ilias and Flano, it's just the Clint Gutherson show. He's the polish on the end of all of these backline movements and everything he's played. They've got magnificent attacking shapes, the Dragons. They're doing such a good job there on that, in particularly the left edge. And Gutho's just, cashing in. Must have or not, Spy?
He's a bloody good to have, not quite a must have.
Price is the point, right?
Yeah. And other fullbacks in the game, pretty handy as well. But, gee, it's nice owning him. Truly, he's just everywhere. He's clinical. Just spoke about it last week, that the positions they're putting him in just scream points. It's always on that little sweep on the right or left, 3-man in. Anytime he gets the overlap, he either runs or picks up the right man and assist. He's busy enough as well. He doesn't mind a dummy half scoot.
Doesn't mind it.
Loves it.
Destroyed me on the weekend.
Yeah, well, that was his revenge game. Well, hopefully it continues. But he's bloody close. He's good.
I mean, I'm death riding him nervously, and the reason for that is I'm an Isaiah Yongi owner who tonned on the weekend. He's set to make a ton more cash. I've got Kalen Ponga. They've got a decent enough draw incoming, and Ponga's Ponga, right? He's still, every chance he's the top scoring fullback in the game this season. He's got the high break even, but not a position I make. Look, it's not a trade I want to make. And then I like Pappy. So I'm basically going to go, all right, I'm going to go Pappy. People can go Pappy at 667k when Gutho's 828. I just find it, especially when Pappy's goal kicking in the best team in the NRL and Gutho's not a goal kicker in what's probably going to be a bottom 8 team, if not bottom 4 with their early season losses potentially. I just see that as a bit of a point of difference. And yeah, I'd love to own Gutho, but I think with the cash he's already made and Pappy at his price, I like the Pappy play there. In terms of most sold this week, boys, Jamie Humphries, he's gone for a month or so. He is a sell. Jack Gajewski is at 307k. What I will say about Gajewski is the second most traded player, and I understand people will be going to like an Egan or a Cant, whoever it might be. Pikura's gone for a couple of weeks, a week or two with suspension, and he had the head knock as well. Jordan Ricky suspended for another week. So Gajewski, he probably plays 80 this week. It's him and like Jaden Hunt on the edges. So he probably gets his 80, so he's not an urgent sell. Don't panic if you're on Gajewski. But obviously if you move into one of those other cheapies, it makes enough sense. Luke Metcalf, number 5, spy at 497k, 76 break even. Has the Storm away into the Broncos at home. I flipped him last week to Jaden Campbell. There are a few reasons for that, which I couldn't be bothered getting into because it was quite tricky. But Jaden Campbell, he almost doubled in updates, which was very relieving as an owner. Walsh called that in the weekly wrap pod, which is a good get. But the reason for it was that I didn't want to own Metcalf for either of these two games with the highest break even. I didn't want to play him the next 2 weeks. I got rid of him last week. I still think he's a sell. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think there's better quality 5'8s there, and it's just, we've spoken about it previously, but his style of play at the moment, he's doing a lot of guiding the boys around the park. He's not running a heap. When he is running, it's kind of like a second, a bit of an afterthought. Just the style of the footy the Warriors play, and they did it last year. They're still a little bit side to side, and when they do run direct, he'll have some line breaks in him on that right edge, some line break assists, but I mean, how many points do the Warriors have in them as well? Like, I think they're shaping up to be a pretty tough side to play, but they maybe base themselves around a Bulldog style of footy and trying to defend hard. Maybe don't count that this week in Melbourne in 30 degrees, but that's how they're trying to set up. I don't think they're trying to blow each side's open with points. I just haven't felt good about Metcalf from literally 10 minutes into round one. I still think Manly made him look very good. One of those nights Manly just didn't get off the plane. They were the softest tries. He had a nice backup try against the Tigers when Chanel went through. He kicked 4 goals or something, or 5, and scored 51. So I'm very nervous if you had to play him any given week. He's made a bit of money for us and somehow averaged above 50 after he started the season. I just think he's a cash in right now.
Agreed. Number 7, Jesse Arthur's a big talking point this week. 506k, a 70 point per game average. Very, very healthy. You look at that average and go, why'd you sell? 59 break-even games against the Roosters and Warriors coming in. Not too daunting there. Boys, reason for my avoiding Pappy last week and going on that 5'8 move and all that, a big part of it was not wanting to sell Jesse Arthurs ahead of a soft run of games. 60 points against the Tigers at Suncorp Stadium. 2 tries he scored. He had a base of just 12. Like, he's the ultimate needs attack to score well. With another couple of decent matchups to come, Desi, you're an Arthur's owner?
I am, yeah.
What's your plan there, mate?
I plan on holding all my centre wing cheapies. I think I've got all 7 of them still, which is crazy. They're all still burning cash. It's pretty much the only position in my team right now where I'm really still just generating cash. Every other position is just stacked with guns. Like 80% of teams are already pretty much formulated. So we're all just working towards that last 20% of our finishing teams right now. So that's why I'm just going to let my centre wing cheapies still just continue to burn. The only guys I'd be really trading them to would be Lomax, Valentine Holmes, Dylan Lucas, Beau Fermor. Those are kind of the 4 guys that I'm looking at to finish my centre wing with right now. Maybe a Ruben Garrick as well if he shows something over the next couple of weeks. But who else are you trading them to, really? They're still making money. They're still scoring relatively good points. They're all between 55 and 70 average. They're going well. Why change a losing strategy right now?
Fair enough.
The time is
Why change
close,
a winning
though.
strategy, I should say.
The time is close, I reckon.
It is close, yeah.
I think they're overachieving a bit, a lot of the centres. But on Jesse Arthur's, we'll get to it in trades. I'm very reluctant to sell him, but I might be doing it just to assist what I want to do.
I'm in the same boat as you, Spy. Reluctant, but might need to do it. All right, let's get to our trades for the week. And we'll start with you, Spy. Kick us off. What are you thinking?
All right, boys, I need your help. These are the 3 guys I want initially, and it was Ryan Pappenhausen, Eli Katoa. I want Thomas Cant pretty badly. We've spoken about it. I think he's a bit of a gun. I can't get all 3 with a boost, just the way it's worked out and who I'm selling off. One would have to miss out. So this is what I've formulated instead. I need to review what's going to happen in the coming weeks because I want Eli Katoa, but I can do this. Alex Seyfarth to Thomas Cant instead of Eli Katoa. I think Cant can get up near Eli this weekend. He's just a workhorse. 46 tackles, 17 runs or something in the back row. Played in the centres last week. Still base 50 odd, just a goer.
70 in base in round 1.
Yeah, insane.
Sorry, his first game.
Seyfarth to Thomas. Jesse Arthurs to Ryan Pappenhausen. And because I'm not getting Eli Katoa, that leaves me a shite load of cash in the bank. And I want to start spending this. I want to get the guns in. So I want the hookers to face off against each other. So I'll just keep Starling another week, especially in Darwin. Could be hopefully hot and sweaty so he can use his fitness around there. Thinking Chanel Harris-Tavita to Cam Munster to partner Jaden Campbell in the halves. Chanel's done a really good job, averaging 58. But he's also got 20s and 25s in him, I think. So if I can get Munster in now, especially the week they play each other, that still will leave me $275,000 next week to keep going on the guns.
So then who will you go next week to Eli Katoa?
Haven't looked yet. That's what I need to clarify.
As long as you got a player to do that. Because I think you want Eli. The trades make sense, and you can wait on Eli Katoa. Like as good a matchup as it is, he's got a break even at 59. There's every chance he punches out 80 odd again this week. But the way I look at it, if this Melbourne side comes out and play the way that we know they can, they have a phenomenal record down there against the Warriors. Like perhaps could go 150. Eli Katoa probably gets his 80, as I said. So that can wait. So I think that as long as you have a plan to go someone to Eli Katoa next week, looks good to me.
That's the question, is it? The other thing, this is where I originally landed, was Pappy in for Arthurs and safe Arthur straight to Eli Katoa. That would have left me with like $2,000 in the bank. I'm like, it's meant to be. I save a boost, but Thomas Cant is just screaming at me to buy him. So I could forego Thomas, but in foregoing Thomas, I would also be foregoing Munster, just the way it's worked out.
Cant could also be on the bench next week.
Yeah, but he'll still score me 70 odd and maybe about 140k.
Yeah.
So we'll see, boys. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Decision time, as always.
I will be going Corey Peaks to Harry. I just think the time is now. I'm not keen for the shootout that Spy's hoping for at hooker. I just want Harry to come out there and blitz it.
Yep.
I'm bringing in Cant for Gajewski. And another one that we really didn't talk about, Suya Wong. I'm bringing him in for Hopgood. I'm just sick of the shenanigans at the Eels, to be honest.
Yeah,
Hopgood's he's a good player, but he's just not. They're not using him correctly.
He played hooker the first 20 last week and just dished.
It was a bit ridiculous. So I think Wong on the 80 minutes guaranteed at the Roosters. The Roosters are going to come good eventually. They'll towel up someone sooner or later, and they'll come into their season. So I think Wong is averaging around 70 or close to it without a try.
It's going well, isn't it?
And to me, that just screams keeper.
Are you worried about the Roosters, roulette of there's blokes to come back? They've lost 3
I think this guy's good enough to just hold down the spot.
You think he holds it? Others might.
I think he holds it. I
Just
think they
backing
go
him in.
Angus on the left, Wong on the right. They're both kind of... I'm going to get Angus into my team as soon as I can as well.
Yep.
I say it every year. He's just an absolute must-have.
What edge was Wong on?
He was on the right edge, was he not?
Yeah.
Yeah? Why are you trying to test me like that?
I just love the Wong and white call every time I hear it.
Just on my shootout at hooker, mate, don't forget that the boys, they'll know. Like, I know they're playing for 2 premiership points, but they'll know the spots on the line in my side, so I'm expecting big things from all of them.
Yeah. I expect nothing else, Spy. They'll be on their toes this weekend. For the Coombe Stallions, Pappenhausen and Cleary coming into my team. Pappy and Cleary in, and probably Thomas Cant. Going out, Starling, and I can do Arthurs or Rob Toya. The one that I don't really want to get rid of, but I have to do it because I can't just go Pappy and Cleary and then avoid Cant. I need to free up a bit of cash. I do like the Cant buy anyway, but Nafahu White, he's been just tremendous for me. And look, in a perfect world, I'd like to hold him, but I have so many of these great front row 2RFs going fantastic. He's maybe 183k, 550k with a break even of 37. He's had a few attacking stats to his name, playing great. You now add in like Lindsay Collins, who's injured. It only shores up his spot even more. I don't really need him. Like, as good as he's going, someone has to go to free up a bit of cash to get these big boys into my team. Supercoach big boys, that is. So.
And did you say, I reckon there'll be a question on it later with Mr. Garrick? Is that coming in?
Well, we can talk about that because my other option that I had listed down was that in 2 trades, instead of boosting, I can go Pappy and Cleary in and I could do like Starling and Garrick out. It'd mean I could hold like an Arthurs and Toya for another week. I could not boost and just do that. It'd obviously mean foregoing Thomas Cant. I'd only probably avoid going Cant if we get news that Lucas will be back next week. If we don't have any real word on that, it's probably one to just take a gamble on and, bank the cash on potentially a lot. But we can talk about Garrick now. I don't know
if I'm qualified to talk on this.
I don't think you are.
However,
you'll do it anyway.
I'll do it anyway. All I was going to say was he had 9 runs the week he burnt me. He had 9 runs last week. And the weekend before he played on the wing for the second half and had a lot of runs. But the last two games fully at centre, he's had 9 total carries for a bloke worth 800k, is it? But they're very good carries. He kicks goals. He can sniff out a try and a line break. So, like, it's all there. But the question is the exact same question I asked myself before I sold him. Can I make my side better by foregoing him? And even if he does average 75 or something as an 800k player, can I make more money elsewhere and make points elsewhere by upgrading multiple dudes?
Well, and this is a bit, Spy, where that cash fee points question comes in, right? Because at 806k with the break every 134, I sit there and go, all right, there's money to be made, like in the reverse, in that he's going to drop coin. His role or output, I should say, probably hasn't looked as good as it has in recent years there at centre. So I'm like, I could flip him, but even if he averages 65, 70 with his upside, I still think he's a keeper, you know, an invaluable number through the origin period. I think he's a keeper in the position. So
he definitely is a keeper.
Yeah,
no
so I'm
doubts
like,
about that.
do I go the, you know, you've just said you're going for the points focus and you're starting to lean into that a fair bit. I'm like, all right, well, the points focus is holding Ruben Garrick and go, cool, he might drop 100k every chance, but the points are there, he's a keeper and I can save a trade.
But you might be able to, with that cash, upgrade other positions that are struggling. So that's where the points focus can come in. What I would say about Garrick as well, and I'll be getting him back. I've penciled in a weekend near Origin. I can't remember when their sort of harder run comes to an end, but I want him back because he is a keeper. I hope he drops cash, but really I just don't want him to score 156 again, 157. So what you could do is, in your situation, in about 3 weeks, you're going to have one of those centres ripe for the picking, and you could trade him straight back to Garrick. That's that whole thing. It's only one extra trade you use to do that, because you're going to be upgrading one of the centres anyway. So why not making it Garrick? So one to consider. Again, I'm full PTSD on selling Garrick, but outside of that one blip so far, I've been pretty justified.
I literally had it in my many iterations of trade plans of like, Garrick out is an option this week, and I can see why people would do it. Matty, the Waterboy, what do you got for us?
Yes, so I am very excited to see the back of Kobe Hetherington. So he is out. Thomas Cant is in, and I was going to do this anyway, but Humphries is injured, and I was going to get Cleary, but that trade kind of wrote itself. Humphries out, Cleary in.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about injuries, as bad as they are in NRL and in Supercoach, they can make trades quite easy at times.
Yeah, seriously, like I the other week was deciding whether I should get, I think it was Pappenhausen or Gutho, and then someone. No, I was deciding if I should get Ponga back in, and to be fair, that didn't turn out to be that good. But Turbo's injury made that easy at the time. So at the time, it was a good move. But yeah, you're right. It does make it easier.
And what about your captains, Matty?
Annoyingly, everyone I want to captain is playing on Sunday. Paps, Munster, and Ponga. I think I'll go Pappenhausen though, and just find someone for a
Why
vice
is
captain.
that annoying that it's Sunday?
Well, because like I can't put my vice captain on Pat. Like most of my team would be locked out.
The best options for both VC and C are Sunday.
Yeah. So I don't want to be locked out. So I'll probably just find someone to put the vice captain on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then just captain Pappenhausen. Yeah.
Nice. Spy, skippers.
Skippers. Totally forgot, mate.
Desi, skippers.
I've got the VC on Nathan. I just think 94 last week in a losing effort. Penrith will win eventually. It's going to happen, and Cleary's going to be a part of it. I think he only had one try assist for a 94. So when he flicks 3 or 4,
He ran a lot more last week.
Yeah, he's going to towel up a team sooner or later. I don't really care that Penrith's losing games. Cleary's still the best Supercoach player.
Also, they're still scoring points. They're conceding like 28 per game. So there's still Supercoach points to go around. They're just not winning.
Exactly right.
And skipper?
Skipper, hadn't really thought about it, but I think Ponga against the Tigers is due for a bounce back game. I think at home against the Tigers, who just got towed up by Brisbane. I think they're going to be ripe for another 40 points slapped on them.
Yeah. Very nice. For myself, VC on Nathan Cleary. Obviously, Tino for Malawi. He's suspended this week. So, he would be my little ticket to that one. So I'd probably actually need someone in the first game. So it works out well for Cleary. Cleary VC and captain. I didn't mind the Ponga play for a bounce back there against the Tigers in Newcastle, but with the amount of players they've got out, I'm a little bit nervous with that one, especially with the Tigers getting players back. So I think Ryan Pappenhausen, my captain spy.
I'm deciding between, and it depends how my trades end up, but Cleary, Gutherson and Pappenhausen, 2 of those 3. I haven't locked anyone down yet, but it could be a Pappy Sunday skipper if one of those 2 boys don't explode. Or I might do VC Cleary into Gutho again back at home. So we'll just check weather and stuff. I do like the Amy track on a hot Sunday afternoon in Melbourne though.
Pappy. Desi's not scared of Pappy. He told me pre-show.
Is he? Should be.
He just doesn't look as good as he did in 2020 sort of era.
When he averaged like 300.
Yeah, his work rate just doesn't look the same to me.
Are you basing this off of last week only or weeks before?
Just all year, his work rate hasn't looked quite right to me.
He's a chimer.
Yeah, the runs he's making were not like, they weren't the difficult runs that he used to make out of his own 20.
I don't need those runs in Supercoach, mate.
I don't want him doing that.
There's plenty of other fullbacks injecting
what if I told
more
you
than him inside the attacking zone. What
if I told you he's played 4 games this year and he scored 131 in one of them at Amy Park on a Sunday afternoon? He didn't kick goals. Would that scare you at all?
A little bit. They call him Captain Hausen for no reason.
But no, I agree with what you're saying. How he's playing is different.
Look, I have no qualms about bringing in Pappenhausen in if he does do exactly that. If he comes out, scores a hat trick, scores 160 points, I'm just going to get him in straight away.
He's relying on attack though, which you're saying, which I agree. And it doesn't worry me because it's Melbourne Sunday afternoon. But if he gets no attack, I'd be worried to see what he scores. Yeah, for sure.
Captain Hausen. I like it. Boys, a few questions before we wrap it up for the week. The first one from the Sponge, one of the greats of the Playbook and the Supercoach community.
Sponge.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's used to be at 8 boosts, so if you want to be.
We might have to actually talk. Start chilling out now. You're killing it.
I didn't realise he was flying so high. Well, anyway, Sponge, it's a good question then. Sponge, list the reasons why I shouldn't use my 5th boost of the season. We all know I'm going to ignore them, but it might save someone else from making mistakes. Desi, Sponge, 5 boosts, pretty well, not far off on the trot.
Yeah, I mean, you should just use it. If you're in the top 500, stay on the attack. Like I said, teams are 80% set. We've got plenty of trades this year to do whatever we want in the second half of the year, really. We're going to have our team set by, probably 3 or 4 rounds sooner than what it normally takes. That's what it feels like to me anyway. Looking at my team, it looks semi-set. So if you can do it and stay on the attack, you'll have plenty of trades to continue making moves in the second half, even if you've used all your boosts.
Yeah, the thought of 5 boosts after 6 rounds makes me shaking my boots.
I agree with Desi, but I also reckon next week you could find with a few peaking centres.
Better weeks
could
to
work
do it.
out to be a great week to do it.
I'm with you, Spite. So to run out by that point, oof. But the Sponge is 400, so...
Yeah, you tell us,
You
mate.
do you.
You tell us.
Sponge should be on the show.
Get him on.
Next question, Spy, one from AB. I've got questions around Nicho, who I currently own. You brought him in last week. Spy, is it complete madness to consider a sideways move to Jerome Hughes?
It's not madness because it's Jerome Hughes and it's Melbourne. But I mean, you look at last week, there's been 2 games this year that have stood out as the most dull matches in terms of attack, with not even a bloke poking their head for a look through the line. Nothing happened. It was the Warriors-Roosters match over in Auckland and Sharks-Canberra until the end last week. What an absolute finish that was. There was just no one was winning contact with the ball in hand. There were no fast play of the balls. Starling had 1 run or no runs. That tells you all you need to know. He'll run at every opportunity. Nicho looked pretty ordinary on the attack, but so did everybody. So I just think you look at that and go, he still scored 48.
He's averaging 73.
He didn't do anything. So, I'm sure as hell not panicking on Nicho, but I do expect better from the Sharks in coming weeks. In saying that, if you really like what you see from Jerome and you're backing a little downturn from the Sharkies, I don't hate it. If that's the kind of move you want to make to break away from the pack and do something different, I'm not against it. But I just think Nicho, hoping he returns to doing what he does best shortly.
Yeah, you're not losing your marbles, AB, but I think it's slightly sideways and a move that probably doesn't need to be made. Desi, one from Nick. Speaking of high flyers, I'm currently 27th overall and I'm getting dizzy. How do I sustain it for a full season? What's he do, Desi? You've been there. You've conquered all. Tinnies.
A
Bloke
couple of
Tinnies.
blokes.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their own ways. I used to go play golf on a Sunday, unwind. But yeah, everyone's got their own little thing they can do to relax. Could be watching TV, could be drinking, could be anything. So yeah, I don't want to get into what Nick needs to do subjectively. It's on him.
Two things for Nick. Firstly, enjoy the ride of being up there. Secondly, don't live and die by everything that happens. You can't control everything that happens on the field. And if you sit there and you're the top 30 for the next 20 rounds, and we hope that you are, Nick, your next 4 or 5 months will be horrendous if you blow up at every decision that goes against you and every injury. You can't control them out there. Just enjoy it, mate, and don't let it ruin your life. Enjoy the ride.
Timo, you actually taught me that. The year unlike you jokers, I finished in the 90s. First and second, well done. Nah, when I was going all right, and I was like, hopefully I can make top 50 or 20, whatever it may be. And I did that, very caught up in things not going my way, very emotional, passionate, and you said, mate, you can't win them all, and we had chat about it. But it literally is the best advice. You cannot, in sport, get everything right. You just cannot get it. So just roll with the highs and lows. And if you copy out 5 bad ones in a row, sure, blow up a bit, but it does tend to even out, doesn't it? Things will go your way. Even after Garrick, I was like, something will go my way shortly. And within a week, Preston scored like 130. I'm like, okay, like that's around. It's swung back around for me, and it happened. It was good.
Yeah, it's a surefire way to ruin your weekend if you get upset about everything.
Got to enjoy the footy as well.
Absolutely ride the highs and lose your nut and get excited and hoot and holler, but just don't get too upset about ones that don't go your way. Next question from Tristan Warner. He's bringing in Dylan Egan this week. Does he trade out enough? He's enough for now, but he's on the extended bench at the Titans in Tukey Simpkins, or do I get out Charlie Geimer, who's at 2RF and stinking it up? Desi, would you get rid of the for now enough or the Geimer who's not doing a lot?
I'd probably get rid of Geimer.
Spy?
Probably Geimer as well. As you know, I like the Tukey dual position enough. I think
I don't mind it, yeah.
It's already helped me out a few
I
times.
will say one thing around your little Tukey Simpkin dual nuff play. There was merit in it. I don't think anyone accounted for how many of these dual to our front row forwards would be outstanding this year.
True that. He's gone to a point of maybe I don't need that, but yeah.
Yeah. But always handy. I would get rid of Tukey Simpkins. Geimer, he's not doing much, but he's only an injury or two away from getting some bigger minutes. He actually started last week, so I want active players in my team, but everyone plays.
If you've got a couple of duels to help you already, then I don't mind that.
One from Peter. Is Matty Nicholson still a buy this week, or are there better options in the 400 to 500k territory? Good question for you boys. After that first week, scored mid-40s, didn't do too much, then came out, was outstanding against the Sharks. 91 points to get some more cash in there. The lingering question is when Zach Hosking returns and the minutes and role of Matty Nicholson. Spy, you'd love a bit of Raiders action. I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, well, Hosking, would he play anywhere else but right eds, do we think? Can he go to the middle?
He can play, he can spend time in the middle, but
he's a bloody good right edge.
He's a bloody good right edge.
Maybe Nicholson spends some time in the middle. I just feel like, I think it's too late now.
I agree, because I think Hosking could be back as soon as next week. It wouldn't have shocked me to have seen his name pop up on the extended match this week, but I think next week, if not the one after, is a good chance. And I just look at their team and how many gun middles they've got there. Tarpany, Papali'i, Horsburgh, and then Hudson Young's going to be an 80-minute edge. Zach Hosking's been outstanding for us. I just think like one of Nicholson or Hosking has to spend time in the middle. Either way, I don't see the 80-minute role continuing for Matty Nicholson. Yep. He's been great. I think the ship has sailed.
And sub-50 scores the two previous in 80 minutes, I think. So if the minutes reduce, you can barely even play him with confidence. I know he's a great try scorer, but I mean, you can't bank on that week in, week out, can you?
Buyers will be laughing, but I think the ship has sailed a little bit on Matty Nicholson. All right, boys, that'll do us for the SC Playbook for this week. Spite, thank you, mate.
Cheers, fellas.
Desi.
Roger.
Righty, guys. Thanks for tuning in and good luck this week.